The video you're about to watch is a full-blown compilation from several private mastermind calls that my clients have paid to get access to in order to learn the insights behind the last 4 years where I built my OnlyFans management agency from zero to over $1 million per month. In this video, I'm diving deep into every topic that you need to know in order to scale a successful OnlyFans agency. I'm talking about understanding what OnlyFans creators need, crafting offers to stand out, cold outreach that actually gets results, how to onboard and retain top-tier talent, content strategies, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm literally sharing the exact strategies and principles that have worked for me to reach that $1 million a month milestone. So put your phone on Do Not Disturb, grab a pen and paper, and take your ADHD meds because I might not be keeping this video up on YouTube for long. How do you handle bad chatters? Every chatter we brought on does a weekend interview process and is terrible at making sales when we bring them on. So it depends, right? Like there's and this is going to be a really good question to take to Stephen as well, just because he's like actively doing this on a day to day. But just from like when people say this, a lot of the times it's not actually the chatters. Now in your scenario, it completely could be, and I'm not excluding that, right? But we had a guy that we worked with on the program, I didn't even know, maybe like 8 months ago. And at that point in time, we was like placing chatters and helping people with chatters. We don't do that anymore, but we was placing chatters and we found like some amazing chatters. We even passed people that had chat for us, US chatters. We even got at one point. And he went through like 20 chatters in like a week and was just like, they're all terrible. And we was like, right, that's not actually possible. There's no way that that's real. And so like that then comes down to that person being a very incompetent leader and manager to where like they don't know how to onboard a chatter properly, ramp up a chatter, train the chatter, and give feedback, right? So it's like, well, how bad is the chatter? So it's like, for example, well, if I'm hiring a chatter to figure out whether he's bad, the main thing firstly I'm looking at, right, is English quality that's the most important, right? So if they got bad English quality from the get-go, I'm not even entertaining it because that's not something you're going to fix quickly. Secondly, I'm going to be actually like the hiring process is key to finding good chatters, right? So like I'm not spending time hiring one chatter at a time, interviewing one chatter at a time to try and find someone, right? Because that's not leverage. That is like peak centralization where you're doing that. So fuck that, right? So, and again, that's why you need eventually a chat in. So for example, our chat and setup, right? Quality assurance, someone that just does that, chatting manager, hiring manager, training manager, right? $3 to $4 an hour to get a hiring manager, $3 to $4 an hour to get a training manager. They take care of all that, right? But to go back to the question, I just wanted to say that because it's important. It's like, okay, English quality first, but then secondly, I'm looking at, do they have experience? Because if they've got experience, that's actually a red flag for me personally. So I don't actually like to take on chatters that have experience just because there's a way more difficult, like you have a way more difficult training process to get them out of bad habits if they've worked with another agency and our agency was really bad. And now we've got to train them on our system and our way. It's going to be so much more difficult to change those habits that have already formed. And so like all our best chatters are people that never had chatting experience previously, right? So that's the two key factors first, right? Is English quality and no prior experience, right? And that's the first two things I'm looking at. Then secondly, it's like, okay, well, if you're dealing with bad chatters, then okay, we need to look at like where you're hiring them from, but not just that. How are you hiring them? Because like I said, if you hire one chatter at a time, you're likely to easily hit a streak of maybe getting 5 bad chatters, 10 bad chatters in a row. Whereas I'm hiring 30 at once, for example, and you can do the same thing, where all I'll do is I will, for a week straight, I'll push a form. I'll go like, this is me saying if I'm doing it, right? I obviously don't do this anymore, but like if I'm doing it, I'm going into Telegram groups, subreddits, online jobs, Upwork, I'm asking other chatters, I'm asking for referrals off people. I'm doing everything I can for a week to just go on a massive recruitment. And I got a form, right? I'm putting that form, in that form's got all the necessary things that I need from them with like also like a 3 to 5 minute Loom video of them explaining who they are, why they should get the job. And then I can also assess their English quality of them speaking as well, right? Then I'll like, for example, include the English test that they need to do and That's about it. I like to ask them to describe their past experience, so on and so forth. I'll try and get as many people to fill that form out as possible in that 1 week, right? So let's just say I get 70 people to fill it out, which is pretty easy. 70 people to fill it out. I'll then filter through the best ones by filtering English quality and past experience. Then once I've got, say, 30, I've disqualified the rest, right? There was 70 applied. I'm now down to 30. I will then tell those 30 people, right, we are going through like either a 6 or a 12-day ramp up process. And what that looks like is I'm going to send you all a calendar invite with the email that you put on the form. And we are going to be doing a call every single day, 6 days a week for the next 2 weeks, right? And on these calls, we are only going to be picking the top 3 or the top 4 or even one chatter, depending on where you're at, right? It depends on the scale you're at. So like if you're looking for one chatter, then you might want 10 people. If you're looking for 3, then you might want 30 people, because usually it's about 1 in 10 you find like a unicorn. And so let's just say we are looking to hire 3 chatters. I've got 70 people, 30 people now I'm down to, and then I've sent them all a link to their calendar for 6 p.m. every single day, Monday to Saturday. We're going to be doing calls. First day, I'm setting expectations, explaining what this is, explaining what my company does, because remember, I'm going for people with like no experience, explaining what my company does, explaining like what this job role is, explaining like I'm disqualifying them. So I'm telling them things that like they almost like that should disqualify people. So like, if you're not willing to work 12-hour shifts for this compensation, then, leave this call now. And people might leave. And if you're not willing, I'm trying to disqualify people, right? Because I don't want to waste my time. So I'm explaining exactly what it is. I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm saying exactly where it's going to be. And then I'm giving the positives at the end, explaining the opportunity, the amount of money that they could make, the progression, all these different things. And then the next day, same time again, the next day we're doing like a training day, right? So the next day I'm walking them through the role, like the competencies, like what is a chatter? How do we chat? And so on and so forth. Then the next day I'm going through live chat and examples. Like I'm getting some of my current chatters on the call and my chatting manager on a call to do a little sort of to give some insight and to give some stuff. Then I might play some like training games, and whatever your training and process is, I'm pretty much going through that either for 6 days or 12 days, depending on the size of the hiring round I want to go through. Like if I want to hire like 20 people at once, it might be a longer process. But the aim is to just get as many people as possible on that call and then just monitor them throughout that first week, see who drops off. If people don't show up to a call, that's an instant they're gone, right? So like, let's just say a chatter misses Tuesday for whatever reason, he's gone instantly. There's no, I don't care what excuse he comes with. If I've said, these are the days for the calls, everyone be here, 6 p.m. every single day, 6 days a week. If a chatter doesn't show up on Tuesday, he's not getting invited back Wednesday. It's an instant cut, right? I do not give a fuck. War excuse, how good they was. That's just an instant red flag for me. They're gone, right? I don't care if the internet goes down. They need to find a way to show up. So then by the end of that week or 2 weeks, however long your process is, you should then have 2-3 solid people. And then you give them an account to go and actually run the play. Like you then onboard them, right? You give them everything they need. You give them the account, and then you just monitor the account and see how they do. But the training never ends, right? You should still be pulling them into, if you're doing it all yourself right now, a Monday and Friday meeting, right? For 20 minutes where they can ask any questions, they can develop, and you encourage an environment where, look, there's no right or wrongs. Like if you're struggling with something, if you don't know how to do something, you come to me and tell me and we'll solve it. And Monday, we're going to set goals and targets and KPIs. Friday, we're going to review them. If you hit it, this is what it looks like. We're going to spin the wheel. You're going to get $50 bonus. If you don't hit it, then we need to figure out why, and we need to solve that. And you need to do more training, or you need to go back through the training module that we built, right? There's tons of ways you can do it. And again, the good thing is you can use this as your training. So for example, right, this is how you create leverage. If you've never hired in a round of chatters before, then the first thing you need to do is figure out, go through our program, go through everything and figure, like on the chat inside, and go through and figure out, okay, what do I need to do in terms of training these chatters, like on our systems? Because you're like, and when I say our, I don't mean mine, I mean yours, because your systems of chat and your accounts, your strategies are all going to be different. So you build a training around every single thing a chatter would need to know, and then you do that training live for however long it takes. If it's going to take 6 days, you do the 6-day training. If it's going to take 2 weeks, you do the 2 weeks training. You record every single session. So these 20 chatters that are joining your Zoom calls every day, you record all of them, you record all the sessions, and then you use that as your training. So the next time you hire in a round of 20 chatters, you don't have to do the Zoom calls again. You just send them the training and you're like, go through all these calls. And now you don't have to waste time doing it ever again, right? Because now you've got a training built out. So now it's easy. You've automated it when you want to hire people in the future. So that's the first thing I'd consider is like, well, if you hire, if the chatters are bad, then that's what you need to think about everything I just said. And in terms of handling those bad chatters, like if they are truly bad, just get rid of them and do what I just did. Like you gotta be cutthroat. Like I like, especially if like they've got past experience on other accounts and they're still bad, like I just cut them. Like honestly, just cut them. It's up to you if you want to waste time like pouring into them and training them, but it just depends on how much time and energy you've got. And if you don't have enough time and energy, but you've got money, then go and hire someone to do the training and hiring for you, right? One of the best assets to build on being a new agency to benefit long term and to help on hiring staff in different places. Yeah, so you've just got to go through the evolution phases of business, right? Like that's how you start to build assets. Like I think I've let me see if I can show this. I think I've pulled this up before. This is how you should think about like start when you're starting out. This is like how you think about it, right? So this is how you think about like building assets and stuff from when you're brand new, right? So when you're brand new, right? Let's just say you're at $0, right? You're at flat zero, and your goal is to get to 250K a month, right? Well, what you need to do that is you need to start by, okay, what is every aspect of the business model, right? Like what are all the main aspects of the business model? We've got acquisition, service delivery, pretty much it, really, right? Acquisition and service delivery. Like if you really want to simplify it. And so like service delivery, then we can break that down further, right? Like what are we looking at in terms of acquisition? Well, we've got outbound, we've got inbound, we've got paid ads, we've got referrals, right? Those are really the only four ways we can acquire clients. And then you can break down service delivery, right? With, okay, well, what are all the components of service delivery? Well, we need good chatting, we need good client relations, and we need good marketing, right? Or good traffic delivery. And then you break that down, right? And so like you've got those main components of what makes up an OnlyFans management agency, right? You've got all these micro things within it, right? Like, making YouTube videos, making VSLs, like all these micro things that you can do, but that's like the basics of it. And so then in each like micro aspect of that business, right? Whether, it's, let's just say you identify for yourself, okay, the main 5 things that I need to be focused on is outreach, because you're brand new, right? Outreach, filming ad creatives and running ads, making YouTube videos for inbound, and doing content research and training, chatting, so I can understand what chatting's like, right? You pick those 5 things. Then those are the 5 most like leverage things that you're going to be doing that create the biggest output, right? So all you need to then do is think, right, this is where you're at. You're at 0. You're in the doing it phase, right? When you're at 0 and you're brand new, you're in the doing it phase. You can't jump to teaching it. You can't jump to managing it. And you can't just jump straight to success, right? So you have to accept that you're in this phase that's going to suck. Like it's going to be shit. It's going to be volatile. Your income is going to be volatile. You're probably not going to be making any money. You're probably going to be putting all the money back into the business. And you're going to be like, you're just going to be working in the business and there's nothing you can do about it, right? The last thing you want to do is try and like skip these steps and go like trying to decentralize yourself straight away, or trying to jump to hiring people straight away so you don't have to go through the pain, because that's just going to create more pain. And eventually you're going to burn out and try again. So you got to accept that you're in this phase. If you're at 0, doing it, you're in the doing it phase, right? In the doing it phase, it hurts and it's volatile. But the good thing about the doing it phase is this is where you build all your assets. So what that means is, let's just use outreach as the example. If you're doing outreach, you need to prove a process with outreach first, right? So you're doing outreach, you're figuring it out. At the start, you're getting like no results. But then 2 months of doing outreach, you start consistently booking appointments, right? You're booking 1 appointment a day from outreach. You have now effectively proved a process. So now you need to be, throughout that entire time of outreach, you need to be documenting that process, right? And this is going to apply to all the things that you do, not just outreach. It's going to apply to making YouTube videos. It's going to apply to making ads. It's going to apply to chatting, right? The client relations, you're gonna have to do this for all of these different things. And so, but let's just keep using outreach as the example. So when you're doing outreach, you're gonna be documenting everything you're doing. Okay, you're gonna build your outreach system, right? Like, follow the program, go and build DM Alchemy or go and build 3-step conversational flow, whichever system you feel like is gonna be better for you. You build a version of that system, an iterated version of that system, and then you start doing it, right? You do it for 30 days, and then you start to figure out, you do it yourself for 30 days. You don't just outsource it straight away. Do it yourself so you can understand it. And then you start to figure out, okay, what works, what doesn't work. Maybe everything works straight away. You're good to go. You prove the process. You've got it documented, what works, what didn't work. Understand it because you've done it yourself. That's when you can then, once you prove the process, that's when it starts to feel good, right? So this is when you're consistently booking 1 appointment every day, 2 appointments every day, 3 appointments every day from an outbound system in particular. That's good. But the thing is now, to scale that process, you can't just keep doing it yourself. You've got to hire appointment setters to put more volume through the system, right? Because once you found a system that works, it's just about increasing the amount of volume through that system. So if you're doing 100 outreaches a day and that's just resulting in 7 calls a week being booked, then you need to figure out, okay, I've proved a process, it works, I can book appointments. How do I now do 500 outreaches, 1,000 outreaches a day? Well, you can't do that yourself. You're going to have to hire appointment setters. So you've proved the process, it feels good, it's stable, you're booking 7 appointments a week, for example. Now you got to go to the teaching it phase though, right? So you're at a flow at this, when you've proven a process, you're at a flow, right? So you might have hit, let's just say 10K a month, right? You're consistently booking appointments, you've booked some good clients, you're now at 10, 20K a month, everything's good, feels stable, life's good, you're still doing outreach, you're still consistently booking appointments. But now if you want to get past that point and you want to get past this flow, you're going to have to accept that it's going to be volatile again and it's going to hurt again. And that's when you go to teaching it, right? So you've documented, you've built the assets of outreach, you've built the assets of chatting, you've built all these assets, every part of the business, right? You've built assets for every component of the business while doing it yourself, right? You have to do it yourself. You have to do the chatting, you have to do the outreach, you have to do the marketing, you have to do the client relations, you have to do all aspects, you understand the aspects of your business. Now, you can split these tasks with your business partner, but one of you need to be doing it so you understand it at a very high level, right? Once you do that, you've proven the process, feels good, then you go to teaching it to someone. When you teach it to someone, they're not going to get results nowhere near as good as you. Let's just say you was booking 7 appointments a week. As soon as you start teaching it to someone and you stop doing it, might drop to 3 appointments a week or 2 appointments a week, right? And that's when you dip. You might then now start generating less money, or outreach might be unstable and you might just start generating less appointments, right? And that's where you have to pour into that person. You have to teach them, you have to train them, you have to keep them accountable, right? You have to set their expectations. You have to make sure that you're jumping on like daily meetings with them, ramping them up, making sure that they know exactly what they're doing and just and your life's going to be made easier if while you was doing it yourself, you was building assets for that person, right? We call it a war chest. So for every part of my business, whenever I'm doing something, I do it myself, I build a war chest, right? So when I'm doing sales calls for my business, when I start my agency and I'm doing sales calls with models, I'm building a war chest, right? I'm iterating on my script. I'm changing stuff. I'm adding objections that come up and then I'm reverse engineering those objections and I'm building trainings and learnings and I'm recording videos on lessons that I'm learning in real time while I'm in the trenches doing the work. So I know when I hire a sales rep eventually, I can give them that war chest of all my assets I've built and he can just go learn it, absorb it, and then I can just help him implement and just help him, keep him accountable, right? That's what you need to do. So again, that's when you're in the teaching phase, but inevitably, when you hire that setter, when you hire that sales guy, or when you hire that new chatter, they're not going to perform as good as you, and that's a given. That's just what it is. And so you might have to hire 3 people to be as good as you, right? Like you are a unicorn, you care about your business more than anyone else, and so it might take 3 people to replace the 1 person that you are. And that's fine. That's just what you got to do sometimes, right? Like it might take 3 setters to generate 7 calls a week, whereas you can do it on your own. But it's not efficient for you to go do it on your own because you're like, well, I was booking 7. Because otherwise you're going to get stuck in the business and you're not going to be able to scale, right? So eventually you teach it, you hire people, you teach it to people. Then you start to optimize and systemize that thing, right? People now have this set onboarding process. They have set working kits. They have set tasks. They have set trainings. It's systemized. They're tracking stuff for you, right? You're optimizing it because you're seeing the data that they're giving you from their tracking. This is where it starts to feel good and stable. And this is when you get to the next growth, right? This is now where maybe you're at 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month, right? At that point, it feels good and it's stable again. But then you've got to go to managing it, right? So that's when you got to go to managing teams. You might have to manage an outreach team, a sales team, a chatting team, and that's when it's going to hurt differently, right? It's because it's still, yes, you've hit a new flow, but now it's going to get volatile again because now you have to manage it while doing all the other stuff that you're doing. You've got to keep people accountable. You've got to set expectations. Like, and this is where it starts to hurt again. But once you've gone through this phase and you can then hire a manager to manage it for you and you can start to decentralize. That's when eventually you'll hit a new flow. And then that's what your goal is, right? Of like 250 grand a month. And that's when you hit success. But if you don't follow this process, if you don't build assets, if you don't do it yourself, if you don't learn it yourself, if you're not willing to spend like months in the trenches, like not making any money, business is probably not for you. Like that's the most fun part. Like if you were like really desperate of like I need to make like money back like right now, like this month, like why am I not like getting clients? Like that's the game, right? Like that's the game. Like you gotta learn to enjoy that shit. Like you gotta learn to be like I fucking would like why do you think I did a case study again? Like I love being in the trenches. Like it's fun as fuck, which is why I wanted to work with a model and like just do everything. It's just fun. Like I miss that shit, right? And so it's like you need to learn to love this process, right? The pain versus pleasure model, right? The revenue consistency model. You need to understand this, and more importantly, you need to learn to love it because you're never gonna once you get to this point, like you're never gonna really need to ever do this again. And so like it's kind of just boring. Then you're just being an operator and managing stuff, and it's like it's kind of fun, but it depends, right? So if you don't follow this and you don't, if you just like try and hire away your pain straight away, or you try and hire someone that's done it and you don't understand, like you're just gonna burn out, or you're just gonna have to try again. Like yeah, that's like almost inevitable. So like you've got to learn, depending on your skill level, depending on where you're at, depending on where your background is, depending on the information, depending on the help you've got. Obviously, you're in a massive advantage in you with access to all the information, but depending on where you're at, everyone's going to excel at different speeds because of this, right? So if someone comes in and has more life experience, understands this, has more business acumen versus someone that's completely brand new, like fresh out of college, has no idea about the slightest thing and is only now learning this, well, they might take 6 months to make their first bit of money and start to prove processes and go to teaching it, whereas someone else might do it in 30 days or 2 months, right? It really depends. And so, like, firstly, when you are going through this, don't compare yourself to anyone else because everyone's on a different time frame. You've just got to know that eventually, if you follow this, it is inevitable that you succeed. You've just got to be willing to go through the pain and the volatility, which, trust me, hurts like fuck and makes you want to give up. But that's what separates people that succeed, like myself, and people that will try for a month, 6 months, a year, and fail. Like I ate shit for like fucking 3 years. Like I'm not trying to sound like Gary Vee, like you gotta eat shit, but like I didn't have success for like 3 years. Like when I was starting online business before my agency, like I was just trying to figure that I didn't know any of this. Like I didn't know this was what it was. Now I do. I wish I'd known this, but like I was jumping from this to this, and then jumping from trying to start you, and like it was just a nightmare. Like I just didn't have a clue what I was doing. It took me like 3 years of just trial and error to like make my first like real bit of money online, and then I just went exponential from there, right? Um, but obviously, by getting access to my information, my knowledge, and other people in the community, like you should be able to do that in a way shorter time frame, right? Like it should take you no less than 6 months, like to go through this and to start seeing some real results, right? But you just got to be willing to stick with the process, trust the process, and not not feel desperation, I would say. That was one of the biggest things I see people fail is they get desperate. And when you get desperate, you start to make dumb decisions. And when you're acting out of fear and you're acting out of desperation, I gotta make this work, I gotta do this. Why am I not making money? Like that's when you start to just do dumb shit. Like you've got to have patience. It's the tortoise and the hare. Like I'm telling you, I've coached so many people now. I've seen it happen time and time again. Like you've really got to trust the process and trust what I'm giving you guys. Like I was speaking to Charlie, who was in here. I was speaking to Charlie Knight the other day, and like Charlie's a interesting guy because Charlie is like a blank canvas, which is almost a massive advantage, right? Where didn't have a clue what OnlyFans management was, never had a coach before, never knew any of this shit, and so like he didn't bring in any like ego, any like preconceived notions coming into the business of like what's right and wrong. He just blindly followed and trusted everything I said and just duplicated me. And in the last 7 months, Charlie's literally gone from zero in his 9 to 5 to 60 plus K a month, right? And so like that's just by just following this process I've just outlined. So like it's crazy what you can do when you actually just trust the process. But other people I've seen just will not accept reality and will delude themselves and will get desperate and will not make anything of themselves and end up giving up, right? So it's all again comes down to paradigms, right? If you haven't seen the video on paradigms in the program, I'd highly recommend that video. But yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, but I think that was quite important, and hopefully that answers your question. This girl, for example, like this girl, right? She has 843K followers. Her name's Ava Bambi, right? And she messaged me saying, I feel like Melossom has hit me up from several different people. How big is your team? Right. And that's what she reached out to me with because she's just thinking, like, who the fuck are these guys? Like, they're everywhere. Like, I'm seeing their ads. I might have seen their YouTube video. I've might have seen like their funnel on a YouTube video. I might have seen like them outreach me on like 16 different accounts. And it's like that omnipresence is what like gets people to being like, okay, like it's like Grant Cardone, right? Grant Cardone like invented this whole omnipresence thing. He's like the fucking king of it. Like before organic content was a thing, Grant Cardone was just like, I'm just gonna spend more than everyone else on ads, specifically on retargeting, so they can just see my face over and over and over and over again. And if you was like in the internet marketing space like 5 years ago, you and even now, you would just see Grant Cardone fucking everywhere. Like you could not escape that guy. Like if you've ever clicked on a Grant Cardone ad, that's it for you. Like you're gonna see his face for the rest of your life. And it doesn't matter if it takes 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You start to build up familiarity with him. And eventually, at some point, the majority of people, there's always going to be a portion of the market that never buys. 20% of the market will never buy. But Grant's super smart because that biggest percentage, that 60, 70% of the market that are buyers for the future, that's who he's targeting. The biggest mistake marketers make is they go after the 10% that are ready to buy right now, right? Everyone's like, I want the creators that are going to sign up right now. I want the creators that are making 20 grand a month that are going to join my service right now. But that's only 10% of the market. So you're thinking about it the wrong way. You need to be thinking like, right, how do I go after the 70% of the market that are buyers in the future? How do I go after them? Like, how do I target them? Like, that's a long-term play, right? How do I nurture them for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months? Like, I guarantee a lot of you guys in this program right now didn't just like see a random ad from me and then was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and spend 9.8K. Like, I guarantee it. Like, there'll be the 10% in you that did, don't get me wrong, but there'll be the majority of you have known me for a year or two. You've watched probably at least 7 hours of my content. You've probably like been nurtured, or you've probably watched at least an asset like a VSL or like a video. You've probably seen something, and it might have took you. You might have thought about it once. You might have been speaking to my setter on Instagram, and you spoke to him for 3 months, and maybe you booked a call and didn't close, and then maybe you booked another call and then eventually closed. There's so many touch points, right? But the point is, like, the majority of you and you bought because I'm smart and I target the 60% of the people that will buy in the near future, because that's how you capture the bigger part of the market. Now, the 10% of the market will come in naturally anyway. So again, there will be people in you that maybe see an ad or see me once and instantly the next thing you know, they've joined because I can solve their problem. But that's not who you want to be targeting, right? And it's the same with OnlyFans creators. Like everyone wants like the insane client like right now, and they want to sign all these big clients like tomorrow. But if you've only started your agency like a month ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago, and that's how you think, you could have like you're not never going to get to my level, because like if me and you start an agency today, you might instantly start signing a bit more clients to me off the start. But in 6 months down the line, if you're still using that same mindset, you're effectively still brand new. You've just started your agency, because you're not playing the same game as me. Whereas 6 months down the line, I've nurtured tons of people. I'm more omnipresent. People are understanding me. I'm retargeting them. Like there's all these different things that are going on. And so like 6 months down the line, I just hit an exponential growth curve, whereas you're still chasing like, I just need that one good client. I just need that one good client. Like that's not going to work. That's not going to work. You need to play the patience game and target the portion of the market that are buyers in the future. Like you'll be so surprised how many of like the highest quality creators we've got took 6 to 9 months plus to close. And like the people that have had those same, like a lot of people in you that would have had those same opportunities as me would have fucked the opportunity up because after a couple of days or a couple of weeks, they would have got fed up and just thought, oh, she's a waste. This is never going to work. But I'm like, nah, I'll nurture this girl for fucking 6 months, 9 months until she closes. I don't care if she's with another agency now. That agency will have inevitably fuck up at some point. Like it's likely, and I'll literally on that day when I happen to like she happens to see a video, she happens to see an ad where your agency's fucked up, that's the day she's going to close because now she's seen me everywhere. She trusts me. She like there's all these things that go into marketing that you have to be thinking about rather than just like the instantly quick fix. Like I need a client now. Like you have to play the long game. Like you have to play the long game when it comes to everything. Like Hamosi, yeah, Hamosi does this now. Like again, Hamosi's smart as fuck. Like Hamosi is another guy that does that. Like you'll see him if you've ever clicked on a Skool ad, Skool community, you're gonna get fucking absolutely p diddied by Hamosi ads. Like you're just gonna get like bombarded. And it's because like he knows that you might not start the Skool community today, tomorrow, next month, a year from now, but over time, eventually you'll decide, fuck, this guy's everywhere. I am actually looking for this new thing. It makes sense at the current point in my life. I've got enough pain right now where I'm at, and maybe Skool is the right option for me. So yeah, fuck it. Let me start a Skool community. Like that's what's going to happen. Like if I ever get to a point where like I'm interested in real estate and I really want to invest in real estate, I might just see a Grant Cardone ad where he says I can do this, this, and this, and I'm like, oh yeah, fuck it. Let me see what Cardone's doing. Like that's just how it works. Like you have to always have long-term thinking in everything you do. It's the most important thing that you can. It's the most important mindset that you can adopt. It's just most people don't like to adopt it because it's like it's difficult. Like it is difficult because everyone wants instantaneous results. But the harsh reality, the duality of that situation is like you almost get the instantaneous results by having the long-term mindset. And that's like the craziest part. That's like the dichotomy. Like it's this weird thing where like it's the whole thing of like, the saying of it takes like it took me 4 years to become an overnight success. Like that's the long-term thinking behind it. Like you can just hit an exponential growth curve so fast when you think that way and build your business in that way and build your acquisition systems in that way and do your marketing in that way. Like that's how you win long term. Especially in this industry where it's like growing at an extremely rapid rate, like 11 times growth from 2019 in terms of the amount of creators on the platform, 22 times growth in terms of the monthly users, in terms of the active users on the platform, like 312 million active users, 4.1 million creators. The demand like is far outweighs the supply. And so that's just going to keep growing as well. And the only other thing is with this industry as well, it's like like everyone in you right now is in such a good position in the long term because you're in an industry that's firstly not going to be replaced by AI, but will be enhanced by AI. Like, you're going to have tons of AI tools. It's just going to make your job even easier as an agency, even better, even more efficient. Like, yeah, and ads, like the return on ads and the return on inbound and like all this sort of stuff. Like there's no other industry in the world that's quite like this. And also it's an industry based on addiction, just like casinos, which is leveraging the psychology of pain for Sims in reality, right? Like that's the reality of the situation. And so like therefore you're never gonna have like you've always got a starving market. Like you've always got people with a need and a want for this product, and it's just only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I think a lot of us don't truly understand like how big that actually is. Like the amount of agencies in comparison to the amount of creators. Like I just showed you my DMs. Like that's one day. There's like 15 creators DM me just today. Like and they range from making under $1,000 a month up to probably maybe 10 grand a month, right? And then every now and again there's the odd gem that's making 20, 30 grand a month. And like that's how you need to play the game. Like you need to play the game that way. So yeah, let me just check if I missed any questions. In terms of this, so this question pretty much says that it says, I hear you saying a lot of times and referencing Alex Mosey that if we want to make a lot of money, we have to be willing to not make money in a long period of time. And as long as I really want to make money now, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. Does that mean I should not focus on making money from the models, but actually test what works? So there's a caveat to that, right? It's not that you should not focus on making money because obviously money is the blood of a company, right? Like you can't operate without money. what I mean by that is like any business that's starting out, it's more about, okay, how do we make more money, right? How do we, like 100%, like how do we get more money in the business? How do we get more cash in the bank? But it's like, I'm not worrying about, okay, we've made 10 grand profit this month. Let me go and buy a Ferrari. Like, it's more just like, how can we reinvest this to continue to scale and make that sacrifice of like, paying myself 2 grand a month salary for 3, 4 years. And even though the business makes 1 million a month, for example, like that would be an example, and you just pour in all that back in to continue to grow. That might be a bit of an extreme example, paying yourself 2 grand a month when you're making 1 million a month. But that's sort of the point that I make is it's not that you shouldn't like, be worrying about not making money, but you obviously want to try making money, but you don't necessarily want to be like, as long as you can live and get by and live below your means, like just put all the money back into the business to continue to grow it. Um, and again, it depends on your situation. Like for me, like when I was building my business, like I just only cared about the freedom. So I was like, right, what are my minimum monthly expenses when I was growing my business? And at the time, it was like, I think 1 grand a month. And I was like, cool. So as long as the business can pay me 1 grand a month, I'm fine. Like I don't want to make any other money. Like I'm not trying to go out and be flashy and do this and do that. Like as long as I can make this much, I can just keep putting the rest of the money into the business to keep growing it. But there's different approaches. Like it depends on what you want to do. Like it really depends on the type of person you are as well. Um, and the one thing I would say with that, it kind of goes into like your vision, right? Which is it's like you need to know your like vision, mission, principles. So you need to have like you need to be very clear on having like a broader vision for your company alongside setting a mission and a set of principles to abide by on that journey, right? Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to your why. So like if you don't really have like a clear vision, you don't really have a why, then it's going to be difficult for a lot of things. Like culture is going to be different. Like talent's going to be difficult to get. Like there's going to be so many bottlenecks that you face if you don't actually have like vision, mission, principles. And so like you and your team really need a reason to actually do this thing. And it can't just be about money, right? So yeah, you need to optimize making money. Money is the blood of a company. Like without it, the body doesn't work, right? And money is obviously a great incentive for yourself, for your team, but there will come a point in your psychology and in your team psychology that money no longer registers emotionally. And when that happens, you need something bigger and something bigger than your personal wealth to motivate you, right? And so scale I promise you, scale will not happen if you're chasing money. Like I know for a fact because you might be hyper motivated to go and make 1 million a month and that might motivate you up until that point. And then at the 1 million a month, your psychology will change and you'll need something else. But your team, the people around you might only, they might get comfortable when they're making 10K a month or 5K a month. And so like you can't actually scale if that's what happens. And so like you really need to like ask the questions of like firstly like why are you here, like why are you here on earth, right? Like why are you actually here on earth? Why is your company here other than for the purpose of making you rich, right? So that's why everyone starts a company because they want to make themselves rich, right? That's the majority of people. So like why is your company here other than the purpose of making you rich? Why is your company worth sacrificing many things in your life for? Like that's something serious, right? Like I pretty much sacrificed my life for my company, and if it was just for money then it wouldn't be worth it, right? um a couple other questions you can ask is like, would the future of the universe really be any different if your company didn't exist? Who's going to care if you quit tomorrow? Why should people quit their jobs and work themselves to the bone and relocate for this opportunity? And why the hell should anyone even care about the work you're doing? Right. And so perhaps those questions don't resonate with you, and that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is your business can either serve the purpose of you having a nice lifestyle, or it can serve the purpose of building an empire and changing the world. You cannot do both, right? And it's not binary, right? I'm not saying like one is bad than the other. It's why you have to set your vision, missions, and principles, because everyone needs to know what they're optimizing for. And so if you're trying to actually be a billionaire and like that's your real like core beliefs and you didn't just get it from listening to Alex Amosi saying that you should work 16 hours a day and you should do like your own beliefs. Like, do you truly want to be a billionaire? And then understanding what comes with that. So what actually comes with being a billionaire? Well, it's likely you're going to have to sacrifice the next 30 years of your life. You're not going to travel. You're not going to spend time with your family. You're likely going to witness your family members or important people in your life maybe pass away, and you've got to live with the regret that you didn't spend enough time with them. And all these dark things that come with a billionaire, you're going to have to manage hundreds of people. Like, do you really want to sacrifice your life for that? Or like, what level do you want to do, right? Because everyone, it's easy for people to say, like, I'm going to be a billionaire, I want to be a billionaire, and so on and so forth. But people don't really realize what comes with that. So for me, it comes to a point for me personally that I'm not necessarily trying to be a billionaire, right? Because okay, it'd be cool to be a billionaire, blah, 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 but I don't actually want what comes with it. I just want the outcome, right? Everyone wants the outcome. They attach themselves to the outcome. I want to be a billionaire, but they don't want the things that come with that. And so I know for a fact that I just wouldn't want to deal with all the shit that comes with becoming a billionaire. And the trade-off for me is like it doesn't become worth it at about like 2, 3 mil a month. Like I'll make a couple mils a month. That's like where I'm good. Like I really don't have any like money-based motivation past a few mil a month. For me personally, I'd rather just have that balance of like a nice lifestyle and a couple mil a month, right? And to some people that might be like that's nothing. To other people that might be crazy because some people might want to make 10 grand a month or 100 grand a month. And so you really need to figure out like do you want a lifestyle or do you want an empire? I more want a lifestyle, not necessarily an empire, right? Something that I learned like a long time ago from having conversations with Ty Lopez and people like that is the best quality of life is the prince. You always want to be the prince. You never want to be the king or the emperor. Like the quality of life of the king and the emperor is not as good as the quality of life of the prince, right? The prince has balance. The prince gets to do what he wants and still live a really good life. The emperor and the king are just pretty much sacrifice their life to continuously make more money and change the world and so on. So like I wouldn't want to be Elon Musk, for example, right? And again, you can't do both. So you can have a lifestyle or you can have an empire and you need to decide, right? And so a business is one or two things. It's founder centric, so all about you and your life, or market centric, which is all about the market and their life. And I'm not saying that if you care about money and having nice things that your business has like no future or no meaningful purpose. I'm just saying that, if you want to sit on a beach in Thailand, drink cocktails and chill, that's completely fine and you should do that. But if that is you, this sort of like scaling the business to X amount is not going to work out for you, right? And so you need to figure out like where do you want to go? Because if you're saying to yourself right now, I want to make 5 million a month, 10 million a month, but then you're also part of you of like, I'd love to live that lifestyle of sit on Thailand, drinking cocktails, chilling. Well, it's like you ask the question, is like, has anything really like when has anyone built anything great from a fucking airport, right? Let's be honest. Like doesn't really happen, right? So it's like it's one or the other, right? And that's the kind of whole point. And so I think you need to figure that was a really long tangent, but I think you need to really figure that out first. And how do you improve operations? Okay, that's a broad question, but in terms of like improving operations. But, where do I start this? In terms of improving operations, right? Firstly, there's there's a couple of things to look at. I've also kind of talked about this briefly before, where I talked about like decentralizing yourself, right? That's the key to scalability, right? Is decentralizing yourself. So right now, a lot of you will be centralized, and a lot of you will be decentralized, depending where you're at in the business, right? In terms of improving operations, there's mainly only like a few things you need to look at. Now, pretty much, you just need to ask the question of like, do we really need that? And the keyword there is need, right? So what I mean by that is you have all different parts of your business and you have all different things that you're doing, right? So you have tons of different parts of your business, like Facebook ads, sales team, research and development, client support, your chatting division, accounts and tax, right? All these different parts of your business, and then all these micro tasks that you have to do. And then you have all these team people, all these automation software, etc. And so the first thing to improve your operations is simplicity is key, right? And so like you need to just ask the question like, do we really need that? And need is the keyword, because like all I'm looking at to improve my operations is just I'm always just cutting stuff, right? I'm trying to be like as lean as possible, and that's how you improve your operations. And then I guess another question you can ask that really follows on to do we really need that is what would happen if we didn't do it anymore? So it's like if we didn't do YouTube anymore, what would happen? Well, right, and you look at the data, right? Right now we're booking 20 appointments a week from YouTube. So if we didn't do YouTube anymore, then we would stop booking appointments. Can we afford to do that? No, because what's one of the core points to get us to where we need to go? Booking appointments. Okay, so let's not get rid of that, right? Do we need to, build this new website, or do we need this web developer or wherever? I have no idea what would happen if we didn't have a web developer. Then this would happen. Okay, yeah, we actually don't need him. Let's just cut him, right? So like that's how you really improve your operations, just lean out the business. And then again, another follow-on question from that, I guess, would just be like, how do we make X thing even simpler? So, for example, if you're doing like support, like for example, let's just say your onboarding is a better example, right? How do we make onboarding simpler? If right now you're manually onboarding creators, it's like, well, how do we make that simpler? Well, we could hire someone to take onboarding for us, but what's even simpler than that? Well, automating it by making media, right? And what I mean by media is a video, right? So like you make a video, setting expectations, doing all the expectation setting, walking them through everything, and just giving them the full client onboarding through a video, right? Like that's all we do when our creators sign the agreement. They automatically get onboarded. They automatically get given a creator portal. They get a video that walks them through everything we need, exactly how to do it. And also sets their expectations of what this looks like over the next 6 weeks, next 6 months, next 12 months. And so that way we don't have to take onboarding calls or strategy session calls or wherever and waste our time, right? So it's more efficient, it's more lean. So that's really like you just have to ask those questions if you want to improve your operations. Now, there's obviously like tons of different things you can look at. Like when it comes to optimizing operations, you're really like you're really just looking at like the systemables, right? Which is just like the predictability, the repeatability, the reliability, the maintainability, the sustainability, the scalability, and the delegatability, right? That's the main things you're looking at, and just keeping things simple and lean, and then also being financially frugal as well, right? Like that's a big part of having a good operation, because if you are in that abundance mindset where you are just spending money on dumb shit, then you're not going to be able to build something great and actually scale a company, right? Like, yeah, if you want to go and live lifestyle and buy Lamborghinis and stuff, completely fine, but you're not going to be able to scale like a crazy business to 8, 9 figures doing that, right? Like you need to be, or you might scale it, but you're not going to have a good operation, right? And so like that's the key thing that you need. So you always got to be removing waste, right? You need to just be removing waste. And so like that's the key. That's the best way I could answer that question. It's quite a broad question. There's a lot that goes into that. But yeah, I guess the last thing I'd say to that is following the CEO daily workflow that I shared with everyone a few weeks ago as well. Like that's also going to be key to actually have good operations, just following that workflow. So that's what I would say there. Um, okay, where else we go? Mm, okay, so yeah, in terms of decentralizing the business, let me see if I can give you an example. Right, this is so like when I say decentralizing the business, this is what it looks like at a basic level, right? This is not like my actual current like business decentralization. It's a lot more complex and deeper than this. But like this is a broad example of what it would look like, right? So for example, like to decentralize the business, what I mean is like this, right? So, you've got, let's just say me and Jack, you in the middle, right? Me and Jack, you, and then we're decentralized from everyone apart from these people in turquoise, right? So the only people that ever speak to us, direct report to us is going to be the media buyer, my bookkeeper, because I want to see exactly the numbers we're doing every day, our ops manager, sales manager, data manager, chat and director, right? But everything else is managed by these people, and that's all that matters, right? So we've decentralized ourselves. Whereas a centralized business, right, would be like, for example, a centralized business which you do not want would be like, right, let's just say, you go yourself, and then you've got like all these different like points of every person, like every single person is like connected to you in some way, shape, or form, right? So like you've got like all these arrows pretty much pointing to you, where like you've got your creative director, you've got like a chat, like you got a chat there, you got a creative director, you've got every single person pretty much, right, is connected to you, or a bunch of people, or even tasks as well, like a bunch of tasks connected to you, right? So that's what you don't want, because you can't scale like that, right? Because you can't scale your time. So that's the most important thing to understand, is you can't scale your time, right? You only have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can't scale your time, and you also only have so much energy. And so the issue with like having a business that's like solely centralized to you is, well, like if you've got like all these connections to you, well, eventually, by the time you've done all these things and managed all these people and spoke to all these people, you've got like no energy left. And so you can't go and do the stuff that you actually need to do, or you can't go and decentralize because you've got no time and energy left to decentralize, right? Because it also takes a lot of time to do this, to go and find the people that can manage this, right? Like hiring an ops manager, I'm expecting them to take care of the rest of the stuff. I'm expecting them to go and hire my relationship managers. I'm expecting them to go and hire an assistant if they need it. I'm expecting them to go and hire a copywriter and a creative director. And then I'm expecting the creative director to go and build his out creative team. I'm expecting the sales manager to go and build out his team. I'm expecting the chatting director to go and build their team, right? And so like that's what you need to look at, because otherwise like you just got every single person just like connected to you. And that is a massive issue, because that's not scalable and you're not going to be able to scale that, right? So that's like not what you want. And so you need to slowly start to think of like, okay, how do I decentralize? Like who's my first hire going to be? And this could be just you in the middle, but you need to start to think like, all right, okay, who do I manage? Because as you can see, like our chatting director sends us direct reports, our data manager, our sales manager, our ops manager, bookkeeper, and media buyer, and also centralizing where you work. So like our entire operation is pretty much on uh, Google Workspace and Discord, right? Like a lot of things I see is people will have like WhatsApp, they'll have Slack, then they'll also have Asana, then they'll also have Google Workspace, then they'll also have Notion, then they'll also have Discord. You can't run a business like that, right? Like you need to centralize where you operate, but you need to decentralize yourself, right? And so like that's how you need to think long term. Now this is a more basic example. So like right now we've got, chatting manager like times fucking 7. So like this duplicated, 5 more times. And then even this is a bit more in depth as well, like thumbnail designers, stuff like that. But obviously, it'd be pointless me showing you that, because that's just too like it wouldn't benefit anyone. But this is what you could look at. Like you can get to 1 million a month off this like decentralized structure here pretty easily, and then the business will pretty much run almost without you, right? Like that's going to be the key thing. And also a good book to read on like this sort of stuff is Who Not How, right? Finding the who's, not asking the question how. Like instead of like, how do we get more appointments on, oh, how do we close more deals? Ask who, right? Who's going to be able to solve that problem for us? Who can I hire to go and fix this problem for me? Okay, I need a this person, a sales executive, a vice president, wherever. They're going to go and solve that problem, right? That's gonna be key. So this is where it looks like at a level when you start to decentralize. To answer your question of that. What is the IG account warm-up process? So there's a process map in the program of the IG warm-up process. I've also checked it in the Lucid chart now as well. I think it should be in there. I think I checked it in the right one. But like basic, it's like a flow. So it's an entire flow that we've got for warming up an account on IG. Pretty much like there's different routes. So you have the account set up, right? So the account setup, you're either going to buy or create an account. If you're in a tier 1 country, right, like US, Germany, UK, Canada, etc. If you're in a tier 1 country, just create the account, just because we've found way better results with just creating a new account versus buying an aged account. But if you're not in a tier 1 country, then I would buy an aged account and use a VPN like Tunnel Bay or something. When you create an account, you want to use mobile data with a real SIM card, and 4G or 5G. You can obviously use then. You can use a TP link wherever you want to do. It doesn't really matter, but 4G or 5G is good when you actually create the account. But create it using mobile data with a real SIM card, right? So if you're going to use phones, for example, or get a creator to do it this way, and then you just add it to Meta Business Suite wherever you want to do, wherever way you run it. So if you're in a tier 1 country, I would just create the accounts. right? So if you're not in a tier one country, but your creator is, just get your creator to create the account, and then you just add it to Meta Business Suite, right? If not, then you create the account. UK, Germany, any tier one countries, just create the account. You're going to get way better results. If you're in like a non-tier one country, just buy an aged account. That'll probably work better. Then obviously just add the profile photo, right? Just add something unique that actually stands out. Like it's actually really key to get a good profile picture because it can make a difference. Obviously, write the bio, but don't add the link yet. So when you're warming up the account, do not add the link. And then you want to upload 12 photos, right? So you want to upload three per day. And that's what you want to do for the warm-up process, like high quality, good photos that have not been uploaded before, no reposts, just three high quality photos per day, space them out. And then you want to follow 15 to 20 celebrities, models, wherever you want to do. Then you want to scroll the explore page and watch the reels, right? So you literally just want to start using Instagram like a normal everyday user and just literally scroll and browse. Don't necessarily like just sit there liking everything. Just spending more time watching reels, right? So like most people are not liking everything on their page. If you start liking and commenting and sharing on everything, it's just gonna look like really inauthentic, especially because it's a new account. So just spend time watching the reels. Like you don't have to like reels, don't comment on reels, like don't worry about any of that stuff. Click through as well onto a through profile. So when you're watching the reels, like click through onto profiles. Um, and that's like the main sort of like flow of like what you need to do. Um, that's like pretty much it. And then you have the activation stage where now you just like, if you have IG accounts with followers already on, just shout out those new accounts in the stories, captions of your posts, start like cross promoting it with other models, etc. We all, if now you are funneling from TikTok, or if you're buying shout outs from large pages, or you're doing like wherever you want to do, you're just running organic. There's obviously then different like ways to funnel that, right? So like, if you're funneling from TikTok, then it's going to differ, right? The activation stage is going to differ. So those are like the next thing. So like to activate the page to really get it going, ideally like you want to promote it on like some other models. Like that's the best thing if you want fast results straight away. Like you make a new account, like if we make a new account, we'll always promote it with either our existing models pages, or if it's a second account we're creating, we'll obviously promote it heavily on the main page, just to get some initial boost, right? And then ideally, and whether you're doing that or whether you're buying a shout out from a large page, right? So whether you're doing that, or whether you're just doing a free method if you can't. So if you're doing a free method, right, like where you haven't got the luxury of buying a shout out, or the luxury of funneling from TikTok, or the luxury of funneling from wherever else, then you just want to be doing like one post a day for the first like 20 days. And then if you're not reaching an average of like 3 to 5,000 views by day 20, then depending on the content, which just send it to me and I'll review it, depending on the content, like how good or bad it is, and if you repost it and listen to the other stuff I talked about, depending on that, you might want to make a new account, depending. But it just really depends on like if you're literally been posting for like 20 days and you're getting like 100 views a video and the content's good, then you need to make a new account. But you want to wait for the account ideally to receive like 5K on average views over like 20 to 25 days. And if you're not getting that, then either log out the account and make a new one, or consider just shout outs to bring like active people. And then that's usually good. Like we never have issues with it because we do the warm up properly. And then the activation stage is so easy that we can just either get a paid shout out, like really simply, or we just will use existing traffic that we've got from other creators and so on and so forth. So there's a bunch of stuff you can do depending where you're at, size of your agency, and so on and so forth. But yeah, ideally you want to wait for the account to reach like 1 to 2K followers. Usually the first 1,000 followers are usually the hardest if you're doing it purely organic with no shout outs and so on. But once you get to 1 to 2K followers, then you can really start like up in the posting, go from 1 times to 2 times. And then once you go like, once you've had videos that have hit like 10K plus, that's when, once you've had like at least like one video that's received like 10K views on a post after 1,000 to 2,000 followers, then add a link in the bio. So like if you get 1,000 followers and then you hit 1,000 followers and one of your posts gets like 15K views, Then you can add a link to the bio and then just continue proceeding with daily posts. And then over time, up your posts, right? So, if the account starts receiving like 25K views on average, then up the post to 3 posts per day, right? So like base it off the post. So like, you're posting once a day, you got 2,000 followers, you're posting once a day. Some of your videos again 10K plus views. Once you add a link in the bio and you're continuing to post daily, once the account starts to go up and you're getting like 25K views a post, that's when you up it to 3 times a day, right? Once you get into like 50, 60, 100K views per post, then you can look to up it to 5 times a day, 6 times a day, right? And you'll see a drop initially when you up the posting, but it averages out and actually ends up more. It just looks less. But then over time, you'll go back to the baseline and you'll just start like crushing. And that's like the best way to scale those accounts rather than having tons of accounts, because you are just like going against Meta by having tons of accounts and they're not big fans of it. So like I would just recommend like running that particular like sort of strategy. It's just going to be a lot better. First question is, where's the best place to hire a creative director? Good question. So let me pull this up. So if you actually want to hire like a good creative director, I'd recommend a few different things. There's a few routes you can take. Now, this person you ideally want to have experience. They're going to be taking care of all your content. They're going to be taking care of everything. And ideally, if you're a smaller agency, that creative director should take care of posting the content. He should take care of. I always think when I'm hiring people, I want to hire one person to hire 10, right? So whenever you hire someone like an executive role, like creative director, hire one to hire 10, right? That's the philosophy. What that means is once you hire that one person, they should be good enough and skilled enough to firstly wear multiple hats at once. So if they need to step in and edit a video, if they need to step in and post a video while also coming up with the content ideas, doing the research, etc., then they should be able to do that. But also they should be able, like once you hire that one key executive role, you shouldn't have to do anything else in that department. So like when I hired my creative director, like I'm expecting him to go and hire editors for me, to go and hire thumbnail designers for me, to go and hire, posters for me. I don't want to, like once I hire that one person that's an executive role, it's his job to build out that team and manage that team, right? So like I always look at that, like hire one to hire 10. So that's the first thing. Now, the best place we found all our creative directors from there, we've got 5 creative directors at the moment, all ranging from the lowest, our 3 assistant creative directors between 2 to 3K a month, and then our like top creative director, who's earns 10K a month with like bonuses and commissions and all some stuff like that. And then we also have another creative director that does 50-50 split on sub revenue for all the subs he brings in. So you can do that. Now let me just admit these people. The best place by an absolute mile to find like an actual talented creative director is going to be YouTube Jobs. So all you want to do on YouTube Jobs is go to this place. My current creative director is paid like my main creative director. He's worked with Mr. Beast. He's worked with A-Rack. He's worked with Camilla. He's worked with all these different creators, and I found him on YouTube Jobs. I've also found all our other creative directors also on YouTube Jobs as well. So all you want to do is make a profile on this platform. Then there's a couple things you can do. Now, this is a pay to play platform because of the amount, like the sheer amount of talent on you. So the first thing I'd recommend doing if you want to find a creative director is just literally simply going you and then just looking for these creative directors. So for example, these are ones that are talented. You can see their profiles. So for example, if I want to hire this guy, I can literally see what he's worked on. Okay, this guy's probably not going to be that good for me. He works on like kids channels, probably not going to be ideal. And I can go to the next person. But if this person was my ideal candidate, I can see like what he sort of charges, what his experience is, and so on and so forth, what his categories are, where he specializes in, channels he's worked with, and then I can obviously hire him and outreach him. Now, to directly outreach to people on this platform, you need to pay for the premium account, which is like $199 a month, or $199 one time price. And that what that means is you can then outreach every single creative role you ever want, unlimited times. Secondly, that's the first thing I'd recommend doing is just start outreaching people on you, pay for the premium, start outreaching people on you that are good. And again, you'll find people that have all different skill sets. Second is going to be actually posting the job posting, right? So what that looks like is you come here, you post the job. If you want to find a creative director, start creative director, full-time or part-time, wherever you want to do, remote ideally, could be on-site as well. You know, what a salary per year do you want to pay them? Okay, we'll just say 30,000 to 100,000 just for this example. Cool. Next. And now I can start to look at like the things I want, right? So the job listing itself costs $149. The amount of leads that you'll get from this is ridiculous. Like you'll get some serious talent. You can obviously do a bunch of other stuff here as well if you want to. But the type of talent you'll find from this platform is unlike any else. For any creative talent, there's no better place, which is why it's like pay to play. Now, content format, right? Ideally, if you're working with OnlyFans creators, you're going to be doing like short, right? But you could do all as well, right? Because you might want to do long form categories. What sort of categories? Anime. You can add categories wherever you want to do. You can add multiple styles, same sort of thing. You can add job description. I will drop this in the chat for everyone. You can use the job that we do. This is our exact job description that we use. Boom, you can have that. So that's the job description that we use to hire creative directors. You can go, experience requirements, language, referrals, etc. So we do a $500 referral bonus because what that means is if a creative director sees this job post on this site and they, they're not a good fit, but they have a friend that could be a really good fit. If they refer that friend, they get $500 bonus if we sign them and work with them, right? So that can work really well. Then simply once you've gone through all this, you post the job, you do the referral bonus, language requirements, etc. And then what happens is a bunch of people will start reaching out to you. So then you'll have an inbox full of people, and then you'll be able to see like, okay, creative director, and then you can start to like outreach the best ones. And you can do a bunch of different things. So you'll have like new applicants. It's been a while since I posted a job on you, but you can obviously these will not say expired. They'll obviously say like creative director, and then you'll see all the applications, all the candidates, and then you can filter through all the candidates and then message the ones that are the best fit to you. So that's what you can do there. So hopefully that answers your question. Jovi, what's good, bro?
Oh, yeah, just had a quick question. When you said like you do the 50-50% split from this, it's from the subscription revenue, right?
Mhm.
I- Is it, does he still has a base salary? Uh,
With that one in particular, we just do it with one creator. And pretty much all her traffic's from YouTube, and she's doing like 100 odd K a month on YouTube. So he simply just works with that one creator, and we just do a 50-50 split on sub revenue because she pulls in like around 30K a month in subs. So he makes like 15K.
okay.
He does everything for her. Like she posts on YouTube, and he pretty much manages it. Like we pretty much just go like we pretty much just do the chatting for it at this point. But we give him 50% of subs just because it was a better deal for him in that particular situation. But there's obviously tons of different ways you can do it. Ideally, like you don't want to do that with every creator, as it just like wouldn't be smart in terms of scale. But because we're only doing YouTube for that creator, really, and like all the traffic's coming from YouTube, then it just makes sense. But if we was also running IG for it and a bunch of other traffic methods, then we wouldn't do 50-50 split on subs. We only do it with that creator because he is literally responsible for like 100% of the traffic, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So with other ones, it's just the base salary, right?
Base
No
salary.
commission.
Yeah, you can do incentives and bonuses and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, we just do base salary for the other creative directors.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
No worries, no worries, no worries.